Hey guys, so in my previous video I talked about a way to hit B quickly without, totally getting overrun. This is in our last game. I was calling hit B fast, but by the time we would get to B, there'd be 3 guys there, and we'd just kind of get torn up. Like we'd end up in a 3-on-3 or a 2-on-2, but we couldn't even get the bomb down. So the idea of the utility is you can to take a lot of the same fights, but to also get the bomb down, because as it turns out, you're actually pretty exposed when you're playing the bomb because you can't move and you can't shoot, and they know that. So that's what the tactics are for, just to give us a little edge so that we can get the bomb down. I only showed one execute for B because when you're coming out of the apartments, you really only have like the one option when you're coming out. Like if you don't want to use a ton of utility, you can only kind of come out van and then wrap the site. Like jumping out the window is not really viable with that little utility. Like if you're going to jump out the window, you might as well use no utility or use a lot of utility. So if you're going to use this medium amount, it doesn't really make sense. Anyway, but coming out of A, I'm going to talk about 2 because you can come out palace or you can come out ramp. And the one nice thing about this low utility approach is that it can be used on pistol rounds, especially hitting A, because you don't need to throw that lurk smoke out of the apartments to get across. My cat wants something. Whatever. All right, so the first execute I'm going to show you, 2 ramp, 3 palace. You can do this with, what's the word? With more people throwing utility out of palace, but the only utility I'm going to be showing is the utility coming out of A, or coming out of ramp. So the first thing is smoke this here. So where this cross meets this upright portion and then jump throw. And that'll smoke top connector. I mean, this missed because it's a 64-tick server. And I'm just hitting space and releasing mouse button, because if I use my jump throw bind, it goes a little bit short, but in a 128-tick server that'll work. Let's see if I can get it. Whatever, I'll just aim a little higher, but you want to aim right there for 128-tick servers, and it lands right there. And what that is for is it leaves stairs open, it leaves jungle open. But what it does is it allows us to push all of this, which is very useful. All right. The second utility position is just a couple of flashes, and these flashes are to flash default. So you just throw these. Like people should know these flashes because they're what most teams throw with their A execute. What that does is it pops right there. It'll get anyone holding this. I mean, it might, if they're like hugging it real tight, it won't get them, but it will get them if they're holding, this angle, this angle, even CT. It'll get them a little bit. Anyway, so flash those things out and then come out and then help trait and help push all of these angles, and probably buy a smoke as well so you can re-smoke this after it fades, because that smoke is really good for post plant. Anyway, and everyone else coming out of palace, let's say it's a Glock round. Whoops. You're here. Smoke comes out, flashes come out. You're looking to trade the stairs player coming out, and then you're trying to kill, obviously all of these positions. If there's someone CT, you probably leave them and you just keep pushing to jungle, because we'll have ramp control, we'll have palace and site, well, kind of site control, and then we'll have jungle, which will be enough. And you plant here. The last little wrinkle is if you really want to lurk. So Ferg, I've been watching you, you seem to like lurking. So here's something you can try. We'll see how good you are at it. So let's say you throw the smoke. You just book it. You won't have the bomb, obviously. You just book it to top mid. And so we plant the smoke for connector, and you just come in here and you try and get anyone rotating a cat, rotating through the window, and then when this smoke fades, you just spam the, let's see if my lineup is correct. It was. So you just spam right at the, where the bomb's planted. So that's a nice post-plant thing you could try. Otherwise you can just come out ramp with the guy throwing the flashes and help trade all these angles. All right. Do I want to add another flash? Sure. So another option is you can throw those and then come here and throw that flash. And that flash is useful for the stairs player and also the CT player. It pops right there, so it won't hit the palace guys. It won't even hit the ramp guy, but it will hit, you know, someone playing this angle because it pops right there. So they won't be super blind, but you know, it's better than nothing. What else? All right, so that's the palace hit. And I'll probably call that the palace hit. Who's got the smoke? If you want to come up with a weird code name for it, you can call it frog or some shit. I don't know. All right, the next one is going to be a ramp hit. And the weird thing about this hit is all the utility actually comes out of palace, which is very strange. If someone wants to buy a flash ramp, that's fine. But there's no smokes coming out of ramp. So what palace does is palace pushes up here, crosses, you know, checks here, throws this molly. Some lineups people should know is if you're there, and so if there's a smoke right there, you want to aim there and then just hold. What would that be? A. That works. Or you can throw. Oh, is it there or is it there? That's the one. So if you're in this corner, you aim right there, and then just. So those are things you can do if they smoke palace early and you don't want to, because you know, if there's only one guy palace, don't worry if they smoke palace early, but you need to throw that molly for the guys coming out ramp. So you throw that molly, and like I said, if the ramp guys want to buy a flash, then throw a flash. And we're pushing. I think that's just what we're up to. And again, we're either going to push jungle or CT. Now in this case, we're actually going to push CT, and I'll show you how we do that. Because the most dangerous part is when you're crossing here, because you have to check the left side and all the way into jungle and right there and connector. So you don't want to deal with all those angles at once, but you have to cross. But at the same time, I don't really like throwing this smoke because that, one, you can get spammed through it. Two, they can boost. Three, there's a hole. People push it. Then it allows them to get to stairs safely. Like, you don't want to do any of that shit. So what I'm going to show you guys is a deep jungle smoke from Palace. So after you throw the molly, even if you're smoked off, you can wait for the smoke to fade. Then you come back here and you aim at the height of the top of this stone, whatever the fuck, and then to the left a little bit. So right over the connector, and then you run throw. Boom, jungle smoke. Now, it's a little finicky because it's a run throw and it hits like this curved wall, but luckily it's not a very wide pathway. So there's a lot of it's a very forgiving smoke. I feel like that smoke didn't last 15 seconds. Or maybe I talk way more than I think I do. You be the judge. So you smoke this off, and then we're coming out and we're fighting all this. Now if you want, you can even throw like a smoke for connector. And what that was just then is I'm holding both buttons, and then I take one step backwards and release both buttons at the same time. And so then you can clear. I left the bomb somewhere. Whatever. So if you want to plant here, that's good smoke. Otherwise, you can just push into CT. You can even like push this way and then push CT so that you can clear this angle better and then swing on this fucker. Anyway, so it's been a long video. Those are the two A hits. I'm going to be calling these a lot because our mid control is not great. And by not great, I mean, like, we get the kills, but the problem with mid control is if anyone really dies mid, it becomes really hard to take a bomb or to get a bomb plant. Like, we basically need to get into connector or cap with 4 players still alive in order to guarantee a bomb plant. And even then, like, you kind of need to know a fair amount of utility. And that is not our strong suit. Like, if I was still in the team, then I could sort of fill those gaps, and I could throw I've got all these smokes memorized, so I could throw any of these on the fly. But we would also be weaker on CT side. So if we're gonna go this route, then we're gonna need some more of these like set plays and a lot more of just like rushing shit to get our 5 T rounds or 6 T rounds so that we can leave most of the winning on our CT side. So honestly, it'll probably go well. But we got to make sure we get that bomb down without too many people dying.